गणानां त्वा गणपतिगं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पतानः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनं श्रीमहागणाधिपतये नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांतिः। Dear friends, in the last class we had just completed the 8th shloka of the 3rd Valli. We are just seeing the description of the vehicle, a beautiful chariot with which a human being is endowed. So a human being, the Shruti says, you are endowed with a beautiful chariot. This chariot is for a particular journey. You are the boss, you are the owner of the chariot. You have got a driver. The driver is having, say, some reins in his hand. There are some horses which are tied to the chariot. So this is the type of chariot we have seen. The horses are the indriyas which drag, and the reins are the mind, the manas which is supposed to hold the reins and hold the horses very strongly and then rein them in. That is one. And then the chariot, the driver of the chariot, Sarathi. This Sarathi is nothing but Buddhi. The intellect is the Buddhi. And then this Jiva, the person who is, say, the self, as we call it. So this person, he is the boss, he is the owner of that chariot. So this is the picture. So this entire thing is ready for a particular type of journey. What type of journey we will see in this next mantra. So we have seen that if this man, if the mind is not able to properly control, that is, if the reins are not properly held, and if the Sarathi is a foolish fellow, Sarathi is a person who is not having proper discrimination, then he will not reach the goal. All that thing we have seen. What is the result if a good Sarathi is there? What is the result if a bad Sarathi is there? So this shloka which we have to read now, it is going to conclude that discussion about the good Sarathi. So this mantra, this 9th mantra, is talking about the goal which a person will reach, the goal which a person will arrive at if the Sarathi is a very capable fellow. So let us read the mantra. Kim tat padam ityaha. So that is, in the earlier line, in the earlier mantra, he was talking about Yasmat Bhuyo na Jayate. He was talking about a particular status from where there is no fall back. There is no question of coming back. For not fall back, there is no question of returning to samsara, to the wheel of samsara. And what is that padam? What is that sthanam? Or what is that place or status? So that is what is being described in this mantra. Vijnana Sarathiriyastu Manah Pragrahavan Naraha Sodhvanah Paramapnoti Tad Vishnoh Paramam Padam. Fine. So this talks about the goal. What is that supreme goal? What is that supreme destination or the final culmination? That is Vishnoh Paramam Padam. That is that. What is that? Vishnoh Paramam Padam. That is the supreme place of Vishnu. It does not mean that there is some Vishnu who is there in a Vaikuntha and then we have to go there with this chariot. With this chariot we have to go up to that Vaikuntha and then we have to reach that gentleman. While that gentleman is there attended on by say Goddess Lakshmi and all other servants, Goddess Lakshmi, and surrounded by so many courtiers and whatnot. So that is not Vishnu Padam we are talking about. Vishnoho, we have to take the etymological meaning, which Shankaracharya also takes. Vishnoho Vyapana Shilasya. That which is all-pervading, that all-pervading Chaitanya, which we call Brahman. So that is this place, that the final, that destination. Then the mantra says, Vijnana Sarathihi Yaha Tu. Vijnana Sarathihi means, we have to take it as a Bahurihi Samasa, one who is having a wise man as a Sarathi. One who is having a wise person as a Sarathi. Vijnana Sarathihi Yahatu Manah Pragrahavan Naraha. Naraha means the human being. Manah Pragrahavan. This mind is the Pragraha. Pragraha means that which holds tightly. Pra plus Graha. Prakarshena Grunhati. Praharshena Grunhati iti Pragraha. Graha. The meaning of Graha is what? That which grabs. The English word grab is the same as Graha. The old word for Sanskrit, the old Sanskrit word is Grubhnati. Grubhnati means that which holds. That Grubhnati is the English word is grab. So Graha, we also talk about the Navagraha. Navagraha means the Grahas means that which captures you. That means that which has some influence on you. It is not as though these Grahas are capturing us. They are having some influence on us. So that is why they are called the Grahas. So here Pragraha is Prakarshena Grunhati, that which holds it tightly, that which holds or restrains the horses tightly. So that is that Manah Pragrahavan is one who is having a mind which is in a very fine shape. It is holding the say horses in a say tightly. It is reining in all the horses. So that is the meaning here. Manah Pragrahavan Naraha Saha Sodhvanah Param Apnoti. Saha Adhvanah Param Apnoti. Saha, that person. Adhvanah Param Apnoti. Adhva means the path, the way. What is that path? That is that path is samsara gati. That is that say this this wheel of samsara. That is that adhva. He moves on and on and on in this cycle. What is this body doing? This body-mind complex, along with the jiva, that is along with the boss, it is basically moving round and round in the samsara chakra. So adhvanah param means, so he has to tangentially take off at some point of time. He has to go off and then get rid of this samsara cycle and then take off. So adhvanah param apnoti. He reaches the param. Param is the other end. Apnoti means attains. Param is the other end. The apnoti is he attains. Apnoti, what does he attain? Adhvanah param. He attains the other end, or he attains the final goal. Adhvanah param means you are going on a path, so it will lead to some destination. So that destination is the end of that path, isn't it? Adhvanah param is that destination, is the end of that path. Adhvanah param. So that param, he apnoti. Tat, what is that param? That is Vishnoha Paramam Padam. That is that Vishnu's sthanam. That is the place from where there is no further destination. There is no further destination, there is no return, and then that is you only. That is what the Shruti is going to say. The destination is not somewhere outside, the destination is in you. It is an inward journey. So for that inward journey only, this sort of ratha, this sort of chariot with horses, then reins, and then the sarathi and all these things, they have been visualized. So this mantra clear? Vijnana Sarathihi. Then Vijnana Sarathi, as I said, it is a Bahurihi Samasa, that is a person who is having a Sarathi who is a Vijnanavan. Then Yaha tu Manah Pragrahavan, one who is having the time, say the reins tight. Saha Adhvanah Param Apnoti. So let us read the Bhashyam. Vijnana Sarathiri Yastu.
Vijnana Sarathiri Yastu.
Yo Viveka Buddhi Sarathihi.
Yo Viveka Buddhi Sarathihi.
Purvoktaha.
Purvoktaha.
Manah Pragrahavan.
Manah Pragrahavan.
Pragrihita Manaha.
Pragrihita Manaha.
Samahita Chittassan.
Samahita Chittassan.
Shuchir Naro.
Shuchir Naro.
Vidvamsaha.
Vidvamsaha.
Adhvanaha Samsaragatehe.
Adhvanaha Samsaragatehe.
Param Parameva.
Param Parameva.
Adhigantavyam.
Adhigantavyam.
Ityetat. Apnoti.
Apnoti.
So we will stop here because it is a very long. Okay, some more is there. Apnoti Muchyate.
Apnoti Muchyate.
Sarva Samsara Bandhanaihi.
Sarva Samsara Bandhanaihi.
It is a fairly long sentence. So we will break it. Vijnana Sarathihi Yastu. Shankaracharya also is explaining. Yaha Viveka Buddhi Sarathihi. That the person who is having a Viveka Buddhi as a Sarathi. One who is having a discriminating intellect as the driver of the chariot. Discriminating intellect as the driver of the chariot. Then Purvoktaha Manah Pragrahavan, as told earlier, Manah Pragrahavan, that is one who is having a firm rein, one who is firmly reining in the horses. Manah Pragrahavan, Pragruhita Manaha, Samahita Chittaha. Samahita Chitta also we know. Samahita Chitta means one who is holding back from all these say physical, from all these indriyas from running away. Indriyas, they keep running towards the sense objects. So he is holding all these senses. So that sort of mana, which is in that state of equanimity, that is called Samahita Chittam. So that Samahita Chitta, that person who is having that Samahita Chitta, Samahita Chitta San means while being so, while being a Samahita Chitta San means while being a Samahita Chitta, what is he? Vidvamsaha. So he is a person who is a Jnani. Then Advanaha Samsara Gatehe. Adva is Samsara Gati. This path called Samsara. Samsara Gatehe Param means Parameva Adhigantavyam Ityetat. That is Param means that the other end. What is that other end? Param. Parameva Adhigantavyam Ityetat. That supreme thing, that supreme goal he attains. That supreme goal he attains. That is, what is it? Apunoti Muchyate Sarva Samsara Bandhanaihi. Muchyate Sarva Samsara Bandhanaihi means what is it? While being in samsara, he is having so many bonds. What are these bondages? Bondages is you are a husband, you are a son, you are somebody's father, you are somebody who is working here. There are so many bonds, there are so many defining factors to your identity. So samsara, these are all the bondages which hold you in this samsara. That means you are identifying yourself with a very limited self. So muchyate means he gets released from this limited self. He gets released from this limited self and then identifies himself with the supreme self. All these limited definitions he discards and then he identifies himself with the supreme consciousness. So that means he is identifying with that Brahmana Padam. He knows, he realizes that he is nothing other than that supreme consciousness. So that is that Muchyate Sarva Samsara Bandhanaihi. So once he discards all these things, his approach to the world changes, his vision of the world changes. So that is it. When you have a particular vision, when you have a particular definition of yourself, your activities will be determined by that. All your activity is determined by the type of personality you attribute to yourself, isn't it? When you attribute a totally different personality to yourself, your action also will change, your behavior will change, because your world view, your vision of the world has changed, your approach to the world has changed. So that is why, Muchyate Sarva Samsara Bandhanaihi. Muchyate means it is not as though somebody is tying him and then these ropes are cut and all that. So he mentally disconnects himself. He just disconnects himself from all these bondages with which he was himself binding to all these things. So he himself discards all these knots and then he becomes free from all these things and identifies with a higher self. So that is the meaning of Muchyate Sarva Samsara Bandhanaihi. Then Tad Vishnoho Vyapanashilasya Brahmanaha Paramatmanaha Vasudevakhyasya Paramam Prakrushtam Padam Sthanam Satatvam Ityetat Asau Apnoti Vidwan. Okay. So, Tad Vishnoho Vyapanashilasya Brahmanaha. So, without leaving any doubt, without leaving us in any doubt, Shankaracharya clarifies Tat. What is that Tat place? That is Vishnoho Vyapanashilasya Brahmanaha. That Brahman which is of the nature of, that is all pervading nature, that is of all pervading nature, Vyapanashilaha. That means what does it mean? There is nothing beyond it. Vyapanashila means there is nothing beyond it. There is nothing beyond it, there is no further destination. Tat Vishnoho Vyapanashilasya Brahmanaha. That is all that sense of duality with which this man was suffering earlier. All that duality is gone. That Bheda Buddhi as we call it. That Bheda Buddhi has gone. The duality has disappeared and he has entered into the realm of non-duality, we can say. So that is Brahmanaha Paramatmanaha. Paramatma means that supreme self. Param plus Atma is Paramatma. Param is supreme. Atma is self. That supreme self. This Jivatma is nothing but the other Paramatma only. So that is it. Then Vasudevakhyasya. Vasudevakhyah means that which is called Vasudeva. Akhya means name, that is that which is called as. That is Vasudevakhyasya means that which is called as Vasudeva. Vasudeva I have explained earlier several times. That is one who dwells in all. Vasati. There are two ways in which it is explained. Vasanti Jaganti Asminniti Vasudevaha. That is all things, all these universes, they exist in him. That is one. Vasati Sarveshu iti Vasuhu. That is, he is the one who is dwelling in all. Dwelling in all means that is something which is all pervading. There is nothing which which is not pervaded by consciousness. Whatever we call even a jada, whatever inert thing also, there is also consciousness in this. Only thing is, it is not so manifest as in the case of a human being, as in the case of a living being. But otherwise there is consciousness in a stone, in a glass, in everything. So that is there is only chit manifesting as some jada. That is it. Then Paramatmanaha Vasudevakhyasya Paramam Prakrushtam Padam Sthanam. That is the supreme place. Paramam Sthanam. That is Prakrushtam Padam. That is the supreme place. Then Satatvam Ityetad Asau Apnoti. Satatvam. Satatvam means that is my own self. He does not realize it as something in a paroksha way, not in an indirect way, but as that immediate appreciation. That is, I am that. That immediate appreciation, that is called aparoksha jnanam. That aparoksha anubhuti, that satatvam ityetat, that is, this is myself. So with that he understands that it is his own self. Satatvam ityetat yadasau apnoti vidwan. So he is the person, he attains it. Attains means it is not as though he goes to that place physically and then he is sitting next to that. It is not as though it is near it. It is you. It is not as though you are with Brahman. You are Brahman. It is not as though you are near Brahman. You are Brahman. So that is it. Apnoti means there is no duality in attaining. You are that. So you only realize that you are that. So that is the say meaning. So there is no other actual gamanam or going, but it is, sorry?
Experience.
Yeah, it is only knowing that it is yourself only. There is no physically going or attaining a place. It is only knowing that you are that. So that is the, so this mantra says what is the final destination, and this it also says that destination is nothing but you. Then there is a small avatarika. Adhuna Yat padam gantavyam tasya indriyani sthulani arabhya Sukshma Taratamya Kramena Pratyagatmataya Adhigamah Kartavyaha Ityevam Artham Idam Arabhyate. So now he is going to tell as to what exactly is that, how exactly you have to go there. He has only mentioned the goal. In the earlier mantra, he has only mentioned the goal. The Shruti has only mentioned the goal. How you have to go, how you have to go about. You have got a ratham. You have got a ratham and then you are ready to go, and how you have to go. So that is what he says. Indriyani sthulani arabhya. So indriyas, they are something called sthula. Sthula means grass. From grass to subtle, from grass to subtle. So indriya is grass, we say. What is subtler than that? Mind is subtler than that. Then mind itself becomes grass with reference to something else. Mind itself is grass with reference to buddhi. Then buddhi itself is grass with reference to something else. What is that something else? This buddhi is an individual buddhi. This individual intellect is something which is grosser than that collective, that say cosmic consciousness which is called Virat, that Hiranyagarbha. That cosmic intellect which is called Hiranyagarbha. So from grass to subtle, then again this becomes, the so-called subtle becomes grass. You again go down, go back. Then again you further go back. So in that process, you by rejecting one after the other, it is also called the process of rejection. This process of rejection is, this is not the self, this is not the self. There is a technical word for that. It is called pravilapa. Pravilapa means rejecting the outer and outer layers. Rejecting the outer and outer layers and go to the innermost core. Going to the innermost core, that is called the pravilapa prakriya. There are different types of pravilapa prakriyas. For example, this 5 kosha prakriya is there. 5 koshas, you are aware of that 5 koshas which we come across in the Gita Bhashya also. First is Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya. So these koshas, one after the other, you keep on understanding it. What is their real nature? Is it myself? It is not myself, so discard it. Then you come to Pranamaya Kosha, then you analyze it. Is it myself? It is not myself, you discard it. So likewise, you go down, go back and back and back. You go to the core of that Ananda, not Ananda Maya. Maya means something which is mixed. Maya means Ananda. Maya means something which is mixed with Ananda, something which is filled with Ananda. That is, there is something else. Something which is mixed with Ananda means something else is there. So that Maya also has to go and you have to remain as that pure Ananda. So that is where that you have to reach the core. So likewise, there is another Pravilapa process. There is another process which is mentioned here, a journey which is inwards, because Vedanta advocates a journey which is inwards. And what is that journey? So let us read the mantra. This line, Adhuna means whatever we read just now, I will explain. Adhuna means now. Yat padam gantavyam, the place which we have to go, that destination which we have to reach. Then that for that, Indriyani sthulani arabhya means starting with the Indriyas which are gross. Starting with the Indriyas which are gross. Then Sukshma Taratamya Kramena. In the process of moving from gross to subtle, gross to subtle, gross to subtle. That is Sukshma Taratamya. Taratamya means that comparative degree. The comparative degree of subtleness. That comparative degree of subtleness. One is subtler than the other. One is subtler than the other. So like that, in that comparative degree of subtleness, that is in that process, then Pratyagatmataya Adhigamaha Kartavyaha. Pratyagatmataya means you have to go to your own self. What is my real self? Pratyagatma. That is inner and inner and inner. What is the innermost thing to my Atma? Whatever is the innermost thing to my Atma is myself, isn't it? What is the innermost thing? Suppose I have a wife, son and all, my house, wealth and whatnot. My car of course is the first thing to you discard. Then suppose my wife of course is not you. Then when you say son is the dearest thing which everybody feels, then son again, it is not yourself. Then again your body is not yourself. So you go back and back and back. So in that process, so Pratyagatmataya as one's own self, what is the closest to yourself? So you have to discover that. Adhigamaha Kartavyaha. Adhigama means understand. Adhigama is understanding. You have to understand, you have to realize. Adhigamaha Kartavyaha Ityevam Artham. For that purpose, Idam Arabhyate means this mantra is being started. Let us read the mantra. Indriyebhyah parahyarthaha
Indriyebhyah parahyarthaha
Arthebhyascha param manaha
Arthebhyascha param manaha
Manasastu para buddhihi
Manasastu para buddhihi
Buddheratma mahan paraha.
Buddheratma mahan paraha.
So this mantra is a very important mantra in the sense that it is telling you that gross, subtle, that gradation it is going to tell. So before I will just tell the meaning and then again I will show you some slides, because with the help of some slides I think it will be better, we will be able to understand, because this mantra says Indriyas are grosser and grosser, subtler, more subtle than those Indriyas are the Arthas. Artha means Indriya Arthas. There are two ways in which this Indriya Arthas have to be understood. That is, this is an Indriya Artha. That is, this is an object for my sense. That is sense of sight. So, do I mean Indriyebhyah parahyarthaha means Indriya is something which is gross with reference to this. Can we say this? We cannot say, because this is something which is seen by the Indriya, isn't it? So, whatever is seen is more subtle, and whoever is the seer is more subtle, and whatever is seen is gross. So this is gross and the sense is subtle. But how is it that here he is saying Indriyebhyah parahyarthaha? How is it that this mantra is saying that Artham is superior to Indriya? So Shankaracharya has explained earlier, we say down below, that it is not this object we are referring to. Artha, we are not referring to this object, we are referring to the Sukshma Bhuta. What is this Sukshma Bhuta and Sthula Bhuta? We will see this. Let us come to that slide first. I will explain.
Slide 1.
Slide 1, you come to that slide 1. So this is by way of some sort of recapitulation. What we have learnt, maybe may not be in this Kathopanishad Bhashya, but in the earlier Gita Bhashya we have seen all this. So what is this? The first thing is whatever is all that all pervading thing which is there, the only thing, that non-dual thing which is there is that Brahman or consciousness as we call it. Are you able to see the show the slide? Okay, that Brahma, that consciousness is the only all pervading thing, that is the non-dual thing. Then we are coming from top down. So from top down let us see. Then in that Brahman there is something called Maya. There is a power called Maya which manifests in that Brahman. So that is that Maya, that is otherwise called Avyakta. Avyakta also, that is another name. Then we also know, I will very briefly tell because I am not going into the details of this Sattva, Rajas and Tamas and whatnot. For that we have to do some special reading. We have to do some other general reading too. This Maya is having three constituents. Maya is having three, it is also called qualities, guna. It is having three constituents. So what are these three constituents? That is, one is Sattva, one is Rajas and one is Tamas. So these three are the things which characterize every living, non-living object in the whole universe. So this Maya is something which is having these three characteristics, and there is a sort of equilibrium in the Maya in the beginning, and there is some little bit of disturbance in that equilibrium, and once that equilibrium is disturbed, then this whole universe arises. Because of this mixture of this Rajas, Tamas and Sattva in different proportions. So the diversity of this universe is because of the multiplicity of mixtures of this Rajas, Tamas and Sattva. Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, they mix in different proportions and create this universe. So that is what grossly let us understand that. And the whole cosmos, if you imagine as a sort of intelligent thing, that cosmic mind or cosmic intellect, we call it Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha is slightly different from Maya. Maya is that Shakti which is there. In that Shakti, this cosmic mind is something which is formed. This Hiranyagarbha. This Hiranyagarbha, naturally, Hiranyagarbha also has Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, etc. So that is the general setup as we visualize from top down. Then the Upanishad also says, not this Upanishad, the other Upanishads, how this universe comes about, because we are now talking about Indriyas, and then Indriyas, how they have come from Arthas. Artha means the sense objects. Indriya is a product of the sense object. That is what the Upanishad says. Sense object does not mean a pen, glass, etc. Sense object means something else called Sukshma Tattva. Bhuta Sukshma. What is that Bhuta Sukshma? In order to explain that Bhuta Sukshma, I am coming to what are these Bhutas. What is Bhuta? We have a word called Pancha Bhutas, the five Bhutas. Bhuta means that which has come into existence. Bhuta does not mean Bhuta, Preta, Pishacha and whatnot. In Telugu, we use the word in a very, very wrong way. Bhuta means something like some devil or something like that. We use that word in a very wrong way. Bhuta means that which, Bhu Dhatu, Bhu Sattayam, that which comes into existence. Bhu Dhatu, the very meaning of Bhu is Bhu Sattayam, that which comes into existence is Bhuta. So that is the first thing which comes into existence is Akasha. Tasmadva etasmadatmana Akasha Sambhutah. That is the first thing which comes into manifests is in that thing is in that cosmos is Maya. This space. That is Akasha. Then Akasha Dvayuhu. The Upanishad says from that space the Vayu emerges. Vayu means air. Then Vayu Ragnihi. From that Vayu, from that air, the Tejas. Avayoho Agnihi. Agni means Tejas. That is that fire. That emerges, and then the Vayu, Ragni, Agne, Rapaha, Agnehe, Apaha. So have you come to the second slide? Okay, the second slide is showing this thing. So Agnehe, Apaha. Agni gives rise to this water. Apaha means water. Then Adbhyah, Pruthivi. Adbhyah, that is, Adbhyah means from these waters, the Pruthivi comes. From these waters, from this Pruthivi, the solid matter comes. So you can even scientifically visualize in a particular way that initially there was space and some airs first came, Those airs, they gave rise to fire. Probably some hot airs which later converted into fire, and that just cooled down to become some fluid, and then that further cooled down to become some solid. Then this Adbhya Pruthivi, then the Shruti also goes on to say, I have not given in this slide, Shruti also goes on to say, Prithivya Voshadhaya Voshadhibhyo Annam Annat Purushaha, it says, Prithivya Voshadhaya. From that Prithivi, or from that solid matter, all types of plant kingdom, Voshadhaya, Voshadhibhya Annam, all this plant kingdom became the food for all the beings, living beings. And that is how this Purusha has come into existence. Purusha does not mean man. Purusha, in normal sense, it means man. Purusha and Stri. It is not man here. Purusha is Puri Shete iti Purushaha. Purusha definition you should always remember. Puri Shete iti Purushaha. That is, in a body, he dwells in a body. That which dwells in a body, that is the consciousness, embodied consciousness, let us say, that is a better word. That embodied consciousness is called Purusha. When this body is gone, that is pure consciousness. So long as you are embodied in a gross body and a so-called subtle body, then it is an embodied consciousness, that is called a Purusha. So that is the picture. So there are 5 bhutas which we have seen. So these bhutas, how are they formed? Initially, come to the next slide. So they don't come just like that, one from the other, one from the other. So what Vedanta says is, initially the essential, the core, or these bhutas, they emerge in a sort of potential form. So this potential form of space, the potential form of air, the potential form of fire, the potential form of tejas, the potential form of earth. So these are the things which initially appear. So these potential forms, they are called Bhuta Sukshma. Sukshma means subtle. So before they became gross material, before they could be perceived, now you are able to see this. So this is something which is a gross thing. So before it came into this form, it was in a subtle form. That subtle form of say earth is called Bhuta Sukshma. Prithvi is one Bhutam. Sukshma Bhuta is something which is before it got manifested, it was in a more subtle form, it was in a sort of rudimentary form, it was in a potential form. So this potential form is called Tanmatra. Tanmatra means that only. That only. Tadeva iti Tanmatram. You come across these words Tanmatra, probably here in the Bhashyam also it may be there. Tanmatra. Tanmatra is the Prithvi which has no connection with other, that Prithvi component which has not yet physically taken shape. How do they physically take shape? Then the Upanishad says, these potential forms, this potential form of air, potential form of fire, potential form of water, potential form of, say, Prithvi, they again intermix. Once they intermix, then these things they come into existence. That is, air also has a little mixture of water, air also has a little mixture of fire, air also has a little mixture of, say, what is this, earth. Similarly, space also has a little mixture of air, has a little mixture of earth, has a little mixture of fire, etc. Then earth has a little mixture of water, has a little mixture of fire, has a little mixture of air, and also has a little mixture of space. So like that, these 5 potential forms, they mix with each other. Whatever is predominant in that, we refer to it by that name. If Prithvi is predominant, we call it Prithvi. If water is predominant, we call water. If fire is predominant, we call it fire. Is it followed?
Yes.
So initially there is a potential form called Bhuta Sukshma or Tanmatra. You may note down also Bhuta Sukshma is the same as Tanmatra, because Bhuta Sukshma is one word which Shankaracharya is using here. Tanmatra has used this thing. Buddhi Shabdavacham Bhuta Sukshma Buddhe Atma Sarva Prani Buddhinam Pratyekatma Bhuta. So he has not used the word Tanmatra. Okay, Bhuta Sukshma is the same as Tanmatra. Tanmatra, the very meaning is that itself, it has not mixed with others. So Bhuta Sukshma is that stage where it has not mixed with others and it has not yet taken shape. Have you followed this?
Yes.
Bhuta Sukshma is that particular stage where it is still in its potential form. it has not mixed with other elements, and so it has not taken shape. Once it mixes with other elements, it takes shape. So it is like that. So two gases coming together, and then they become some other gas. So like some chemistry laboratory, if you have seen, if two gases coming together and then they suddenly become some liquid. So something like that. So they take shape only after this intermixture. So that is what the Upanishad says. So then what about these indriyas? Why are we talking about all these things? Then come to slide 4.
Yes.
Or slide 3 itself. One more point let me talk. Slide 3. This mixture of tanmatras, they cause the manifestation of gross forms as we see. You are able to see that line?
Yes.
Then this mixing of these subtle forms, it is explained in one book called Panchikaranam. If somebody is interested, one can see that book called Panchikaranam by Vidyaranya Muni. Of course, some people say that it is written by Shankaracharya, but scholars hold, many people hold that it is by Vidyaranya Muni. It appears to be by Vidyaranya Muni. So this Panchikaranam is one book which is there, and then they say that clearly explains this whole process. That is this Brahma, this appearance of this Maya, and then Sattva, Rajas and Tamas and all these things, it clearly explains. Then come to the fourth slide.
Yes.
So we have seen what are these bhutas, and what are these subtle forms of these bhutas. And we know that in all things there is what is called Sattva Guna, Rajo Guna, Tamo Guna, isn't it? There is Sattva component, there is Rajas component, there is Tamas component. Sattva is associated some all these Sattva, Rajas, Tamo Gunas in human beings. They are described in Gita also. Sattva, Rajas, Tamo Gunas. Sattva manifests itself in the form of a person who is having that equanimity, a person who is truthful, Satyam, Ahimsa, all these good characteristics which are associated with Sattvam. Rajas is associated with that sense of achievement, always active. Raja pravrutti rarambha, lobha pravrutti rarambha. He is greedy, he wants more and more, he wants to be acquisitive. So these are the qualities in Rajas. Rajas basically indicates activity. Sattva indicates serenity. Tamas indicates some dullness and negative tendencies. Dullness combined with negative tendencies. So this is what is Sattva, Rajas, Tama. So here, coming to slide 4, we see that we have got 5 indriyas. We have got 5 indriyas, and each indriya is seeing only one object, isn't it? Eye is able to only see. My skin is only able to feel it. Then my nose is only able to smell. Then what else? My tongue is able to hear. The ear is only able to. The eye is only. Ear is only able to hear. Then the nose is only able to smell. So something like that. Each sense organ is able to perceive only one particular type of sense impression, isn't it? But mind is something which is combining all these things and collecting all these impressions. That is one thing which we have seen. So which means that each sense object is corresponding to each particular sense organ is corresponding to one sense object. Each sense organ is corresponding to one sense object. And what is that sense object? And what type of sense object is it? So we are talking about the subtle space. That is before it became space, that is Tanmatra. I told about that Bhuta Sukshma. That Bhuta Sukshma or the potential form of space, I have written as subtle space. You can also note it as potential form of space, and potential form of air, potential form of Tejas, potential form of Apa, and potential form of Prithvi. So this potential also you can add. That is Bhuta Tanmatra. That Tanmatra of space. And from that Tanmatra of space, there is again Sattvic aspect, Rajas aspect and Tamas aspect, isn't it? So this Sattvic aspect gives rise to this Indriya called Shrotram. Indriya called Shrotram, that is sense of hearing. So the sense of hearing is corresponding to the Sattva aspect of the potential form of space. Sattva aspect of Bhuta Sukshma of Akasha Bhuta Sukshma, to tell the Sanskrit word. That Akasha Bhuta Sukshma, the Sattva aspect of it is responsible for the sense of hearing. Then air, Vayu, Vayu Bhuta Sukshma, that is the subtle part or the potential say form of air, potential form not yet mixed with all other things, that potential form of air, that subtle form or Sukshmatara, Sukshma, Bhuta Sukshma of Vayu or Vayu Tanmatra, let us say, Vayu Tanmatra. Tanmatra means Vayu and it has not mixed with anything else. So that Vayu Tanmatra, it also has got Sattva Guna. So that Sattva Guna of Vayu Tanmatra creates this sense of touch. It is corresponds to the sense of touch. Then there is that Agni Tanmatra. This Agni Tanmatra, Tejas Tanmatra, Tejas and Agni are one and the same. Teja means both light and fire. So this Tejas Tanmatra is something which corresponds to Netram. Tejas Tanmatra, the Sattvic aspect of it corresponds to Netram, that is the sense of sight. Then similarly, this Apaha Tanmatra, that is the Tanmatra of water, the subtle form of water, and the Sattva aspect of it. The Sattva aspect of it gives rise to the sense of taste, what is called Rasana. Tvak, Chakshu, Shrotra, Rasana, Ghrana. These are the five senses which we have. Then the subtle aspect of Prithvi. Prithvi is earth. The Prithvi or solid matter, let us say. This Prithvi is Tanmatra, this subtle form of Prithvi, and the sattvic aspect of it, the sattva aspect of it gives rise to the sense of grana, the sense of smell. So that is how these indriyas are supposed to have form. So each indriya corresponds to the sattva aspect of the potential form of one particular element. Is this clear? Each indriya corresponds to the sattva aspect of a sattva component, let us say sattva component of the potential say bhuta, potential element. Bhuta Sukshma or Bhuta Tanmatra. Bhuta Tanmatra and Bhuta Sukshma are one and the same. So these words which you have to remember. Bhuta Tanmatra, Bhuta Sukshma, these things you have to remember. So this slide 4, is it clear?
Yes.
No need to repeat. Okay. Then let us come to slide 5. Let us see the slide 5. So as I said, each sense organ can only know one sense object, isn't it? Each sense organ can know only one. Then mind is able to see all. How is it? Then mind is the collective sattva aspect of the five tanmatras. These five bhuta tanmatras are there. Five bhuta tanmatras individually are responsible for individual sense organ, isn't it? The collective sattva aspect of all these five bhutas, all these five bhuta tanmatras, that is responsible for creation of the mind. So mind is a product of these things. So when you say indriya organ is a sense organ is a product of these bhuta tanmatras, bhuta tanmatra is the artha we are referring to here. Indriyebhyah parahyarthaha. When you are referring to this artha, you are not referring to Prithvi, you are referring to Prithvi tanmatra. That we have to keep in mind. Prithvi means, Prithvi, when you refer to the hard object, this is definitely, it is not superior to sense organ. Sense organ is the drashta. But the Bhuta Tanmatra is the creator of this thing. Bhuta Tanmatra is the creator of this thing, this sense organ. So that is why Indriyebhyah Arthaha Paraha. When you are referring to Arthaha, you are referring to the Bhuta Sukshma, the Bhuta Tanmatra. Have you followed all this? So if you have not followed, anyway, it is there on the record, it is there, I mean, you can again see, because it is something, in one go it will not enter the mind, because this is something about the creation of the senses, the creation of the mind, which you nowhere find. This is, for example, no religious text will tell as to how this, what are these senses, what am I, what is my mind, what is my buddhi. So all these things no religious text will tell. But our texts, our Upanishads, they basically talk this way only. They only talk, say, starting from who am I and what is that what is the real nature of that I. So in this process, the Upanishad teaches. So we have to see all these things very slowly, and in the very first go you may not understand. If you again listen or if you again see this, you will understand. Then this slide 5. The mind is the collective sattva aspect of the five subtle elements. So that is how mind is able to see all the five sense objects. So this is the background which is necessary to understand this mantra. All this what I said by way of these 5 slides is the background which is required for understanding this gradation, sthula, sukshma gradation, because we are going from gross to subtle, gross to subtle, gross to subtle. And we have also seen that the same sattva, the same say element or bhuta, it is having two aspects, or rather three aspects. One is sattva guna, rajo guna, tamo guna, isn't it? The sattva aspect is giving rise to the perceiver called sense organ. This tamas aspect is becoming this object. This tamas object is becoming the physical, gross, sthula bhuta. As we call sukshma bhuta, there is what is called sthula bhuta. Sukshma bhuta is something which is not seen. It is in the potential form. It is the tanmatra. Is it clear? Sukshma bhuta is something which is tanmatra. It is not seen. Sthula bhuta is something which is seen. So this sthula bhuta is something which is seen by the, cognized by the sense organs and also by the mind. So in one bhutam, or what, in one element as we call it, there is a sattva aspect which is the seer. There is also the tamas aspect which is the seen. So the seer and seen are both there in that say this bhuta, isn't it? So in the whole universe, if we see, there is a perceiver. The perceiver is dependent on the say indirectly, the perceiver himself is dependent on the perceived in an indirect way, and then he is seeing it on the other hand. So there is a sort of interdependence. The sense organ is dependent on this bhuta sukshma, and then the gross bhuta sthula bhuta is dependent on the sense organ, isn't it? So there is a sort of dependence, interdependence. This organ is nothing but another form of this bhuta only. The sense organ is another form of bhuta, and this mind is another form of say the collective sattva aspect of all these bhutas. So we have also in Vedanta what we see is whatever is in the body is in the universe, isn't it? Whatever is in the body, these five senses, these are there in the five, these are from the universe only. This corresponds to the universe. What we see outside is there in the body. Yatha pinde tatha brahmande. There is a beautiful saying, Yatha pinde, pinda means body. Yatha pinde tatha brahmande. As it is in the body, so it is outside, in the brahmanda. So that is what we see. So there is a perceiver and the seer and the seen. So both are in the bhutas only. So that is what we have to see. So here let us read the mantra. Let us see the mantra. Indriyebhya para hyarthaha. Hyartha, you have to split it as para hi arthaha. He means he is yasmat, because connects with the earlier continuing that earlier discussion. Indriyebhya arthaha paraha. That is with reference to these indriyas. When compared to these indriyas, these arthaha we are not referring to sthula bhuta, we are referring to sukshma bhuta. Sthula bhuta is gross objects, we are referring to subtle, their subtle forms. These subtle forms of say these elements, five bhutas. Indriyebhya parahyartha. Is it clear now?
Yes.
Why this indriyebhya parahyartha? Because it really takes some time to understand this. Because when you say that eye is able to perceive this, seer is eye, and then this is the something seen. So naturally seer is more subtle. So in which case, how do you say that this artha is superior? So that is the question. So we are not referring to this particular artha, we are referring to the subtle portion, that is the subtle form or the potential form of this Prithvi. We are not referring to the Tejas rather. This is basically what is it I am seeing? I am seeing the light. I am only seeing the light. So I am seeing the say this subtle form of light is responsible for my sense organ, which is seeing this say sthula form, this gross form of the same light. So the subtle form of the light is becoming my eye, and then my eye is seeing the gross form of the same light. So the subtle form and gross form, the seer and the seen. So that is the drama here. So indriyebhya parahyarthaha, then arthebhyasya param manaha. And when compared to these arthas, in a manner of speaking, param manaha, this mind is something supreme, because the mind is the collective sattva component of all these arthas. So in a way of speaking, though it is also derived from these arthas, in a manner of speaking, that is again supreme, because it is the collective sattvic aspect of all these sushma bhutas. Indriya arthebhyasya param manaha. Then Manasastu para buddhihi. Then mind is something which is indeterminate in nature. That is mind. What is mind? And as we have seen in our earlier discussions, mind is called mind. It only records an impression. It is not. It has not decided as to what is what. It only records and it takes a sense impression and sends it to the mind, and it has not decided as to what it is, whether is it so or is it not so. Sankalpa vikalpatmakam. It is indeterminate. It is called Sankalpa vikalpa. It recognizes, it sees as something, and then it is not very clear whether it is the same thing or not. So that state of mind is called manas. Then buddhi is the state of mind where you identify that yes, this is good, this is bad, this I want, this I do not want. So that level is called buddhi, isn't it? So that is nischayatmika buddhihi. Sankalpa vikalpatmakam manaha nischayatmika buddhihi. So buddhi is something which is closer. Buddhi is something which is closer to Atma. We are just traveling from, suppose this is Atma is here. Indriyas are far away. From Indriyas we have come to Mana. Indriyas are far away. Then Manas is something which is closer to Atma. And when compared to Manas, Buddhi is closer. And when compared to Buddhi, there is another thing called Mahat. Mahat Atma, that is what is called that cosmic consciousness or cosmic intellect, or what we call Hiranyagarbha. That is closer to this Atma. So that is what we see here. Manasastu para buddhihi. This, when compared to the mind, buddhi or intellect is supreme. Buddhi is supreme. Buddhehe atma mahan paraha. So here buddhehe is when compared to buddhi. All these words are in Panchami Vibhakti. Indriyebhyah Panchami Vibhakti. Arthebhyah Panchami Vibhakti. Manasaha is in Panchami Vibhakti. Buddhehe atma, in buddhehe atma, buddhehe is in Panchami Vibhakti. Buddhehe atma mahan. Atma mahan means this Mahat Atma. We are referring to this Mahat Atma. That Mahat Atma is Para. That Mahat is a technical term in Vedanta. That Mahat refers to the cosmic intellect. The collective, not collective, that is cosmic intellect. So that is the, we know two words, Vyashti and Samashti. Vyashti, that is that independent. Samashti is that whole. So that buddhi, individual buddhi, we are not only talking about the human beings here. We are talking about every small insect, every small amoeba, every small virus, whatever it is, because even that virus has an intelligence, isn't it? This so-called all these microorganisms which are there everywhere, they also have some intelligence, because they also know how to survive. They also know how to survive. Obviously, they do have some intelligence, isn't it? They have that adaptability. So, obviously, they have some intelligence. So, we are talking about that intelligence which is there in every being, in everything, starting from a tree, from all sentient, insentient things, the whole intelligence which is there in the universe. There is some that thing called cosmic intelligence. If we visualize something called cosmic intelligence, that is called Hiranyagarbha. And we visualize a cosmic intelligence because there is a pattern. Because your buddhi is there. I also have buddhi. My buddhi says 2 plus 2 is 4. Your buddhi also says 2 plus 2 is 4. And some other man, his buddhi also says 2 plus 2 is 4. So which means there is something which is common to all these things. Your buddhi and my buddhi and somebody else's buddhi, they are all programmed in a particular way. They are programmed in a particular way. You are able to see only a particular bandwidth of light. You are able to see only a particular bandwidth of sound. And similarly in all senses. We are not able to see when a cyclone comes, whereas a donkey can notice a cyclone coming and then it runs away hours before the cyclone arrival. Hours before say huge earthquake, let us say a huge earthquake is in the offing. The animals know and run away. So which means that animals, they do have some sense which we do not have. So that intelligence also is included in this cosmic intelligence. When we are talking about this cosmic intelligence or Hiranyagarbha, you are talking of the whole intelligence of all the beings, all the living things in the universe. So that is how we have to see. that cosmic intelligence. Cosmic intelligence does not mean somebody, a god who is only trying to monitor human beings and all. Cosmic intelligence is the very nature of intelligence. What we have is individual intelligence with a particular reference to body-mind complex. That cosmic intelligence is something different. Cosmic intelligence is enabling you to see all these things. So that is it. Then is the mantra clear?
Yes.
Indriyebhyaha arthaha paraha. Paraha means more subtle. Para is subtle. Then arthebhyasya param manaha. That is, mana is more subtle. Manasastu para buddhi. Buddhi is more subtle than this mind. Then buddhehe atma mahan. Atma mahan is that mahat atma. Mahat atma is referred to as mahan atma. That hiranyagarbha is paraha. Then let us read the bhashyam. Is there time?
5 minutes.
Okay. Sthulani tavad indriyani
स्थूलानि तावत् इन्द्रियाणि
तानि
तानि
यैः अर्थैः आत्मप्रकाशनाय आरब्धानि
आत्मप्रकाशनाय आरब्धानि
तेभ्यः इन्द्रियेभ्यः स्वकार्येभ्यः ते पराः अर्थाः पराः हि अर्थाः पराह्यर्थाः सूक्ष्माः महान्तश्च प्रत्यगात्मभूताश्च. Okay, so here let us see this line. Sthulani tavad indriyani. So indriyani, these sense organs, they are gross. So that is the statement. That is with reference to what? With reference to their artha, with reference to the arthas. These indriyas are originated or activated or caused by this bhuta sukshma, isn't it? We just saw that whole chart. So with reference to the bhuta sukshmas, with reference to the bhuta tammatra, or with reference to the potential form of the elements, with reference to the potential form of these things, bhutas, these indriyas are gross, isn't it? Those stula means gross. That is, gross is something which is seen. Gross is something which is the effect, and subtle is something which is the cause. So from subtle this gross comes. So like that. So sthulani tavad indriyani. So there is a sort of organic relationship between the jiva and the whole universe. So that is what we are seeing here. This jiva is something with not an independent entity. There is a total organic, a sort of dependence. The total dependence of interdependence of one thing over the other. So this doctrine of interdependence is another thing which we see in say Upanishads, Upanishads, not only in Upanishads, also in Buddhism. I had told about one principle called the principle of dependent origination. It is one theory in Buddhism, dependent origination, that everything is dependent on everything else. So in the same sattva, in the same element, there is one thing called sattva, there is something called tamas. Sattva is the witnesser, sattva is the seer, and tamas aspect is the seen. So everything is dependent. So what the same thing which is there in the Upanishads, the Buddhists also say the same thing. So that is what, and I have been telling you that only at the final level there is a dispute with the Buddhism, because at the final level he totally rejects the idea of self, whereas we say that the idea of self has to be there. After all, there should be somebody to witness that shunyam also. What you say shunya. So anyway, this is stulani tavad indriyani. Tani means those indriyas. Yaihi arthaihi atma prakashanaya arabdhani. So this is what we saw in this whole statement. Atma prakashanaya arabdhani. In order to manifest themselves, they have created these indriyas. Atma prakashanaya. For manifesting myself, I create somebody. Or for talking good about me or for praising me, I create my chamcha. So it is like that. Suppose I am a king. So I want people to praise me. So for praising me, I create some courtiers. I pay some money to some fellows, and then they keep on praising me. So it is I am just giving an example to understand this thing. Atma prakashanaya means in order to manifest themselves. Atma is self. Atma prakashanaya in order to manifest themselves. Yaihi arthaihi prarabdhani. These arthas are the things which, in order to manifest themselves, they created the indriyas. So indriya becomes the karya, artha becomes the karanam. Artha, that bhuta tanmatra, becomes the karanam, indriya becomes the karya. So yaihi arthaihi atma prakashanaya arabdhani tebhyaha indriyebhyaha swakaryebhyaha. So with reference to those, in comparison with those indriyas, which are their own karyas. In comparison with the indriyas which are their own karya, their own effects, then arthaha are subtle. Artha means this bhuta tanmatra, they are subtle. Is it clear?
Yes.
This line, is it clear? Swakaryebhyah te parahyarthaha. So these bhuta tanmatras, they are superior to these indriyas. Indriyas being the effect and bhuta tanmatra being the cause. That is karanam, and these indriyas are the karyam. Then sukshmaha mahantascha pratyagatma bhutascha. Sukshmaha, they are subtle. Mahantascha, mahanta means great, and then pratyagatma bhutascha. So this pratyagatma, whenever you come to this word pratyagatma, they are closer to the Atman. As I said, we just drew some circles. So Atma is here, so there Mahat is there, then beyond Mahat is Buddhi, beyond Buddhi is Manas, beyond thing is Indriyas. So pratyagatma means that is closer and closer. So compared to the mind, this thing is, this arthas, this bhuta tanmatras are closer. So that is it. And compared to bhuta tanmatras, this mind is closer. Compared to mind, this buddhi is closer. Compared to buddhi, this mahat tattva hiranyagarbha is closer. And compared to this hiranyagarbha, there is only one thing, which is that that pure consciousness. And there is nothing beyond that pure consciousness. So that we will see in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.